Welcome to Talking Mopars, episode number 101. This is another replay of a Facebook live stream that I recorded on Labor Day, Monday night. So without further ado, if you are a Mopar enthusiast, then you are in the right place. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth. And I'm your host, Chris Albrecht, better known as the Mopar Hunter. And this is Talking Mopars Live.
You're listening to Talking Mopars with the Mopar Hunter, your direct connection to all things Mopar.
What's up, everybody? We are live for episode number 101 here on Talking Mopars on a Monday night on Labor Day. Hopefully you guys had a good Labor Day weekend. Most of you will be hearing this on Tuesday or after Labor Day, but it's a huge week for me. This weekend, I'll be in Las Vegas at Muscle Cars at the Strip at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the 10th and the 11th. It's going to be a great time. There's going to be autocross, drag racing, a vendor midway, a swap meet, and all sorts of cool stuff, a car show. So it's going to be huge. It's not just limited to Mopars either. There's going to be all sorts of other stuff there that is sure to be of interest to people that aren't Mopar lovers. But most of the people that are going to be watching this are indeed Mopar enthusiasts. So today, it's pretty much a normal episode. We're going to do Project Car of the Week. I have a listener story. It's kind of long, so there's probably only going to be one of those. And depending on who jumps in this chat here, either on screen with me or in the actual live chat, I don't have a car picked out for High Performance Parts. Now, if you know the show, you know that High Performance Parts is the segment on the show where I pick a random Mopar from TV or movie history and just give you a quick little spiel about it. But it's I don't have anything prepared for that today. So hopefully one of you guys or gals in the chat can tell me what your favorite Mopar in a movie or on a TV show is, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit. But let's go ahead and get started here. Looks like there's actually a few of you in the chat. I'm surprised. It is a holiday after all, but I do enjoy doing these lives, so I thought I'd jump on here and do episode 101. So I see Mark Sweet is in the chat. He says going to be at Capital City Mopars for September 11th. That's very cool. Anytime there is a car show, especially, or any type of event, racing, anything like that, towards the end of the summer, especially one that's, dedicated to Mopars, I'm all about it. So that's cool. I actually, for Labor Day weekend every year, we have a local event called Cruisin' to Colby. And I went last night and it was super late. I didn't think anybody would still be cruising the Ave. And I got there and there was a bunch of people cruising. I took a video of it. So if you want to check it out, feel free to go check that out. It was pretty cool. They let me get in there, and typically you're supposed to pre-register, but it's like open to the first 600 cars that pre-register. I didn't pre-register. I didn't even think I was going to go, but my wife went to bed early. So I thought, oh, what the hell? I'll go cruise over there and check it out. So I checked it out. It was pretty cool. Like I said, I got in there to cruise around. People were doing burnouts and just being ridiculous. And you're really not supposed to be doing burnouts. So a couple of people got reprimanded for that. But it was a good show nonetheless, even though I showed up late. It ended at like 10 o'clock. And I think I got there around 8 o'clock or something like that, or 9 o'clock. It was ridiculous, but good time. God, I wish that there was more, city cruises. And I hear about a lot of them in like these small towns, even local to me. I think they're great for the community. And I think that every, reasonably sized town or city in America should have cruise nights very often. Every weekend would be cool. So if your city has one of those cruises every weekend, let me know, because I'd love to visit it sometime. Because it's like my new favorite pastime. I love those cruises. So I would love to check out more local ones. Like I said, there's still a couple local ones to me, but a lot of them are down south, like an hour or an hour and a half down south on like Friday nights. So to get down there after work and not miss anything would be kind of difficult. But anyways, let's get into the show here. Project Car of the Day is something that I picked on Craigslist. It's been a while since I posted anything from Craigslist, but I ran across, and it's been a while since I looked at Craigslist ads. and I ran across this 70 Roadrunner convertible that I thought was awesome. So I'm going to pull that up here on screen. It's one of those cars where it's not perfect. It's just the right amount of ratty for me. I think you'll see what I'm talking about when I pull it up here. So hopefully you can see this. This is the Roadrunner convertible I was talking about. So let me just go ahead and read the ad. 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner convertible, $45,000, Baldwin, Missouri. And let's take a look at these pictures. So actually, let's read the rest of the ad first. Real deal 1970 Roadrunner convertible, one of 830 built in 1970, 383 automatic, now has a 440 HP motor, air grabber hood, sport mirrors, bucket seats, power trunk release, B5 bright blue, solid car with original floors, quarters, trunk floor, etc. The trunk floor has been repaired. Nice paint, older top, and needs interior done, $45,000. Apparently the title status is clean. Odometer says 90,000, but the odometer is also broken, according to the ad. Let's just get right into it. I thought this car was cool because, for one, it's a 70. Two, it's a convertible. Three, it's got Kragers on it with BFGTAs, one of my favorite combinations. And it presented really well. But like I said, it has just the right amount of ratty. Now, it looks pretty clean from these pictures. But once you take a look at the interior, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, even here, it looks pretty good. And I love the convertible with the air grabber up there. I think it looks badass. And it's got the right stance. I would probably come down a little bit in the front, but I like what I'm seeing. It looks pretty clean. I don't know if it was an older restoration. That can't be the original paint. I highly doubt it. But it looks good. And for $45,000, not too bad if you ask me. God, it has the right stance. I really like it. And the B5 blue with the white top, white interior, that's a winning combination in my book. Let's take a look at the inside here. God, it just sits good. I like it. And yeah, really clean car. Of course, that's just based on pictures that I'm looking at on the internet. So we all know how that goes, but it looks pretty straight. I mean, everything that I can see looks pretty good. Even the Kragers, appear to be in great condition, plenty of tread left on the tires. So clearly this car was taken care of for the most part. Still retains, actually, those probably are not the original graphics, but it looks good. Okay, that's my point. Even the top looks good. But here's the interior. So the interior is a faded white. It's starting to get yellow on the color there, but I think it looks cool. I really like the interior. It's got the wood grain steering wheel on it. It's the console, a floor shift. Who knows what's hiding underneath this carpet, but let's assume that it's okay. All right. It probably needs a few patches and whatnot. He already said the trunk's been repaired, so I imagine there's some water leaks, but I like the look of the ratty interior. I think it's just the perfect amount of ratty for this car. And at $45,000, God, that just looks good. It does need a TikTok tack, but I just think this car is awesome. I really do. For $45,000, I'm really not complaining, especially in today's market. I know that sounds crazy, but it's a Roadrunner convertible. You know what I mean? And it's, doesn't have the original drivetrain in it. So it's kind of like all right, do whatever you want to it. I was a little concerned about this right up here. And no Roadrunner here, but the VIN indicates Roadrunner, so we're going to go ahead and assume it could very well be that door's been replaced. Who knows? But I mean, from what I see, I dig it. I really dig this grimy interior. I don't know why, but even underneath the car, it looks okay. Clearly he's been playing with a spray can because you can see some rust up in here. Nothing crazy, but definitely hitting it with some undercoating. To possibly hide some surface rust, which is to be expected. When I detailed cars at a local classic car dealership, one of the first things, so I detailed this car. It was a 67 Camaro, and I won't say the name of the car dealership, but they were notorious for selling 20-footers. And this car was so bad, you could still see the sanding marks underneath the paint. So clearly, whoever did the body work on this car just wasn't very good at it, or didn't care. Cheap restoration. You know what I mean? But I got done with it, and my boss was like checking over my work or whatever, and he got underneath it, and he's like, "What's this?" And apparently at this car dealership for this detail facility, you're supposed to take a can of flat black bomb can and hit anything that looks suspect underneath the car, so that when customers look underneath it, they don't see any rust. And in my head, I'm thinking any smart classic car enthusiast that's looking for something in good shape is going to get underneath the car and see that we bomb canned it black. But they didn't pay me to question them. They paid me to do the work, so I did it anyway. And I see it a lot with these classic cars for sale. And this one, it looks pretty solid. Definitely take a closer look at it if you're interested, obviously. But I like what I'm seeing. I really like it. For $45,000, of course, you want to get them a little bit cheaper than that. But I just like where this car is going. If this was a perfect car, I mean, $45,000 all day. Roadrunner convertibles are hard enough to come by. But yeah, it's got an AutoZone battery. Who cares? At least it's not black in the engine bay. You know what I mean? So it's not a car that I'm expecting to win any classes in shows at, but it's one of those cars that I would just love to cruise, do burnouts in it. I mean, look at that. You can't tell me that isn't a little cool. I know there's a lot of guys out there that are, OE guys. They want to see rally wheels or Magnum 500s or even, Steelies with redline tires, stuff like that. They want a little bit closer to, factory, I guess. But I'm a fan of Krager's, Keystones, and slotted mags. That's no secret. And I like the, I guess you could call it a street machine. I like fat tires, deep dish wheels in the back. I like them to have a nice little rake to them. And this really fits the bill for me. If I was going to envision what I would want out of a 70 Roadrunner, this is probably something, especially a convertible. This is pretty much what it would look like. Maybe a different color. I think this would be cool black too. Or any high impact color actually on this thing would be cool. Like I said, I dig the white interior and the white top. Any color would go good with those, in my opinion. And Krager's, in my opinion, look good on anything. So that is the project car of the day or of the week, whatever you want to call it. God, this just looks cool. 45,000. I don't know. What do you guys think? 45,000, a lot of money or what? Is it a factory air grabber car? I don't know. I would lean towards, let's see. I don't think there's no picture of the fender tag. All he has is a VIN number. He doesn't say anything about a fender tag on this thing. So, let's see if we can see one in the pictures here. Oh, there's a fender tag on it. Let's see. Yeah, no way to read that, but he has a fender tag on it. It would be really smart of him to post that up, or it could be really dumb. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure that a lot of people would tear this car limb from limb, and just roast it and just nitpick it. Me, for something like this, gosh, I'd probably hit him mid 30s. He'd probably laugh, and we'd probably settle somewhere in the low 40s. But I don't know. I just like the car. Okay, if I had 45,000, I definitely would entertain it. But that was project car of the day. So let me jump in the chat and see what everybody's saying here. Donnie says B5 is so generic. Yeah, I guess. Mark, I say ratty only. Let me put it to you this way: anything that isn't, restoration quality, like legitimate restoration quality, that has a little bit of jacked up interior, I think that's a little ratty. I mean, is it not? Am I wrong? Maybe not ratty, but I do agree, Mark. 45,000 is a decent price. It definitely needs a 4-speed. That would be cool. Could you imagine a 4-speed with a center console on that thing? That'd be sweet. My buddy Paul says too much. Bring it down closer to 2025, but that's me. Hey, I said if I had 45,000, I don't have 45,000. Now, if I had 20 or 25, would I hit him up and see if he would bite? Yeah, of course. Would he? Probably not. Pat says, I bomb all my cars and my 20 Ram with top coat black spray paint or undercoating living in New York. I think it's good prevention, just in my opinion. Yeah. Hey, whatever saves the car, I'm all for it. You know, a lot of people will nitpick these cars and like, oh, that's not original. That's not OE, yada, yada, yada. I get it. Okay. With the cars that I look at, I'm really not looking for that kind of stuff. I'm looking for cool stuff that I'd be willing to drive myself. You know what I mean? And that includes everything from ratty shit boxes all the way up to amazing show quality restorations. I drive them all. My budget, on the other hand, says probably going to be driving old Dodge trucks for a while and shitty vans, but not everybody falls into that category. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there with money. Actually, I know there's a lot of people out there with money because if you watch any of these stupid auctions, I shouldn't say stupid auctions. The auctions are fun to watch, but they definitely get people thinking their cars, their complete piles in the yard are worth a lot of money, but that's just the way the game goes. Gary says, I bought a rough 67 satellite convertible for $700. That's a Johnny Mopar type deal. I would probably buy it too for $700. As a matter of fact, I can double your money right now. Gary, that's cool. Yeah, man. When you get working on that satellite project, let me know how that goes. Maybe share some pictures or something. Mark says, do a project car video on a first gen as they are getting more popular and Ram Chargers are getting insane on price. If you're talking about trucks, which I believe you are, first gen is kind of Dodge truck terminology. Some hate it, some like it. I don't really care if you call your first gen Ram a first gen. I don't really care. It lets me know what you're talking about. So, yes, I agree. I've always been a proponent for Dodge truck projects, whether it be the old swept lines, which are definitely coming up in price. It's getting kind of crazy. Or my favorite generation, which is the tin grill generation, 72 to 80. And then you got the first gens after that. First gens are probably easier to obtain. Short beds a little harder to find than the long beds. Tin grills are still out there. The problem with them is they're super hard to find, rust free. But there still are a lot of parts trucks out there. The problem is all of them rust in the same places a lot of the time. So that's what I've seen in my area is every time I go look at a tin grill, they're usually rusting in the same spots, blah, blah, blah. But there are good truck projects. And I have said before that trucks make good projects because you can throw whatever motor you want in them. And then maybe you get tired of the truck later on down the road, and maybe you come across a sweet, 68 Belvedere, and you're like, oh, I could build a sweet Roadrunner clone, and I have a big block that's in my first gen or whatever. You have an engine, and then you can do something else with the truck. So yeah, for starter Mopar projects, I think trucks make great projects. I also think they make great Mopars, period. Maybe you're the type of guy like me who can't afford a 68 Charger RT, project for 25 grand that's almost rotting into the ground, but maybe you can afford, I don't know. My 76 D100 on air ride suspension that I sold earlier this year is up for sale right now on Facebook Marketplace, and I believe Craigslist as well. And he's asking $15,500 for it. I sold it for less than a third of that price. He's done some work to it. And do I think it's worth that much money? That's debatable. Depends on who you ask. If I was to make an offer on it, I'd probably offer him $8,000. That's just me, and that's just because I love the truck and I miss it. But I also paid. I don't know if I think I've disclosed this, how much I paid for the Mr. Norm tribute truck. If I haven't, a lot of you may be shocked at how much I paid for that truck. So the Mr. Norm tribute truck is a 1978 D150 with the original drivetrain in it, and it cost me $18,000 Canadian. I know a lot of you were like, no way did he spend that much on that truck. It cost me 14,000 Canadian, a little bit over 4. So less than 15,000 American and 18,000 Canadian. I forget what the conversion rate was, but it did cost me some money because I had to get it imported. I had to pay a fee for that, which was $1,000+. I think it was 12 or $1,500, and then it was a nightmare. But the problem was, and maybe some of you have dealt with this, if you want something bad enough, you're willing to pay for it. And I wanted that truck for 6 years. Okay. First time I saw it, wanted it. And it escaped my grasp so many times that finally, when I tracked it down and had the cash, and I knew there was no way he was going to be asking. I mean, obviously there's a chance, but there was no way in my mind that I thought he would ask more than the cash I had at my disposal. And I was right. Now, when he hit me with 18 grand, I definitely said, Canadian or US dollars? And it was Canadian. So I did the conversion and I was like, oh, okay, is that thing worth almost $15,000? And I had to think of it not logically, because logically my brain says a 78 Dodge D150 in perfect condition is going to be hard to get 15,000 for. That's just my opinion. Unless it's a, Little Red or something like that, or a Warlock or a Midnight Express. But I thought to myself, it's an attention grabbing truck. I'm a huge fan of Grant Spalding Dodge. I always have been, ever since the early days of the Mopar Hunter. I think some of my first posts were about Grant Spalding Dodge. Huge fan. Before I even had the truck, I've got a picture of Grant Spalding Dodge framed in my office right now. I'm looking at it right now. So always been a fan, and the opportunity to buy that truck, even though it's a tribute, it is a badass tribute. And I thought it would be good for my business, and to get the word out about the podcast when I'm at shows and things like that, because it does generate conversation. So, I don't know if you can see underneath my Talking Mopars poster back here, but Mopar is spoken here. And if I can get anybody to talk to me, whether it be about my truck or whatever, at least I can tell them about the podcast. So I bought it as a marketing and promotion tool, in reality. But it was definitely worth the money in my mind that I paid for it. Now, would everybody pay $14,000 for it? I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I know I've told a couple people and they were like, wow. Even Murray, the guy who became my friend that I met, who owned the truck the first time I saw it 6 years ago, when I told him how much I was paying for it, he thought I was crazy. You know what I mean? I don't blame him, but I have the truck now. It's not going anywhere for a penny under 20,000. So, and it's not even for sale. So that's all there is to it. But yeah, like I was saying, Dodge trucks, amazing project cars, swept lines. If you can get one for cheap, get it, because you could probably double your money, depending on how much you buy it for. I've seen some swept lines for $2,000 where I was like, if I bought that right now, I could sell it for $6,000. Why did I not buy it? Because I didn't have $2,000 cash at the time. But they're definitely good flips. And we were actually talking about flips on, I think that was my buddy Brian's live stream. So my buddy Brian from Dust Devil Garage, go check out that YouTube channel. He just did a live stream like what I do when I have all my Mopar friends on. It's like the Hollywood Squares of Mopars. I went on his live the other night and had a blast. Thank you, Brian, for having me on. Met a bunch of cool people, and I got to get them on this show because they're really fun to talk to. And I believe we were talking a little bit, maybe after we got off the live, but we were talking about flippers, and I have no problems with flippers. Most of the people with cars that I wish I had got those cars through flipping. So I can't really hate on flippers that buy cars for cheap and sell them for a little bit higher. I'm not in that business, so I can't really speak on it too much other than I understand the game, and I have nothing against people that do it. Now, there are people that could be considered crooks out there, but that's a whole different topic, because we know that there's people out there that buy Mopars and they throw lipstick on a pig, and they hide bad damage, things like that. So there are crooks out there, but I classify those different than flippers, in my opinion. Even though it's essentially the same business, I just think that the people that are doing it just to come up in the world a little bit, get another Mopar to flip, make some cash. I don't really see that as a problem versus the guy who's like, oh, I'm going to steal this car, for a crazy good price and, do some shitty patchwork on it and just, get it good enough to sell and try to double their money, and that happens all the time, but that's the business, I guess. But, Gary says, did it have the Certicard? Let me just check this again. I might have missed that, dude. I think I missed it. Oh, well, the link's gone. Interesting. Mark says, yes, love the trucks. Yeah, they're cool, man. He says he picked up his 88 W100 for 46,000 miles, 4-speed short bed, absolute beast. Yeah, I want a B-body to have a cool show car. I'm happy as hell. By the way, swept sides rule, especially the 64 CSS 426. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the video of the Good Guys car show I was at, but there was one of those trucks at that show. Super clean truck. Yeah, $2,000 for an 88 W100 with 46,000 miles. Yeah, that's a deal, dude. Good job. Mike says, what happened with the van? It's sitting right underneath me right now. It is in the garage. And what I need to get it outside to get Mr. Norm. I call it Mr. Norm, to get the truck, my truck, into the garage and get it prepped for winter is coming. But I need to get I took out, so I think I've talked about this before. On my van when I bought it, it had a Venturi vent. Now, if any of you know anything about vanning, I guess those things are like gold. I didn't know. And mine was broken anyway, so I broke the hell out of it to get it out. And I got a new rooftop vent. I also now have 2 sunroofs that I need to put in the van. I'm debating on which one I'm going to use. Am I going to use both of them? But I do have a new roof vent that I need to put on it before I take it outside. And I have some weather stripping I need to do on all the doors so that it holds out the water as best as it can. I'm going to be trying to find a nice fitted cover for it. But the van, that project is not dead. I posted a video after I put the headers on, and I got roasted for putting the headers on it, and people were saying it was misfiring, and I used starting fluid, and they were telling me I was washing the cylinder. I wasn't using that much starting fluid. I only used it to start the damn thing. Calm down, all right? But they were saying it sounds like it's running on 6 cylinders, dead cylinder, whatever. So I'm going to take a look at it and make sure everything's good. I think it just sounded choppy because it was open headers in my garage. But we'll see. We'll find out. Maybe everybody else is right and I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. So we'll find out. I did double check the firing order, and the firing order looks right based on my memory. Because I did the same exact firing order on my truck, because they're both 78 360s. Not that that matters, but they're both small blocks, and everything went the same. So I'll double check that again and go through the van one more time for basic stuff. But I really think that it'll smooth out once I get some mufflers on that damn thing. But Brian, what's up, buddy? Yeah, go check out Dust Devil Garage on YouTube. Oh, Gary was talking about a fender tag and Certicard for his 67 satellite convertible. For some idiotic reason, I thought he was talking about the 70 Roadrunner we were just looking at. Cool, Gary. I'll check out the pics. Pat says everyone's a mechanic. Yeah, man, and that's the thing. Here's the thing about YouTube and any type of content creation. Brian and myself and the rest of the guys were talking about this too, because it was actually a group of content creators, which I thought was awesome. And we were talking about trolls, and it's like, no matter what you do, you could be the best mechanic in the world. And somebody is going to talk shit. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to happen. And I had to learn to just let the trolling roll off my back. Now, every once in a while, I get a little wild hair and I decide to respond, even though I shouldn't. And typically I end up deleting my own comment because I'm like, I don't want to even give this guy the time of day. You know what I mean? So if you think you're going to troll me now, you can try. You can even come on here and talk to me about it, but it doesn't even concern me. Now there was one time where, and I wouldn't even consider this a troll, but I was live streaming and I was putting the wheels on my truck, the American Racing torque thrusts, and I was having a fitment issue. And one of the guys in the live was like, "Hey, there's still a spacer on it," and I was like, "Oh shit, there was still a spacer." So I pulled the spacer off, put the wheel on. It was fine. It was a 2-inch spacer for the wheels that used to be on the truck. So sometimes people in the chat help you out, and I appreciate that. I would hope that if I was about to do something stupid, or somebody saw something that I didn't, that they would say something. Right on, Brian. Yeah, go hang some lights, buddy. Mike says he likes the podcast. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Pat says it's amazing people love to knock shit and whatever you accomplish. Sad. Mark says haters gonna hate. And you know what? Yeah. Anytime you become a content creator, man, it's it's inevitable. And you know what? When you first get into the content creation game, a lot of us put everything we have into these channels and podcasts and even Facebook pages, and to get hated on, it's at first it's a kick in the gut, because what kind of work you put into it. So that's why you'll never see me talking shit, about another content creator, even if I don't like their stuff and I think it's completely stupid. Now, have I in the past? Maybe a little bit. But that's because the guy put a Hellcat on wagon wheels. I don't like that kind of stuff. I think that's a shock value stuff. But if a guy's building a car and he's not doing it professionally, and he's, let's say I'm not me, and I did a video where I decided to do some rust repair on my van, and I'm watching this video and I see that I am doing a really shitty job and not how it's supposed to be done. Will I troll the guy? Probably not. I'll probably watch him and go, "Ooh, this is going to be interesting. How's he going to handle this?" Or if I know what I'm talking about, I'll happily give a suggestion. "Hey, man, why don't you try this?" Instead of, "Oh, you stupid moron, blah, blah, blah." You know what I mean? It's just, God, who has time for that? Who do you know that is successful that has time to go shit on somebody else? Go ahead, I'll wait. Exactly. Nobody. Nobody that's successful at all has time to go troll people. It's a loser mentality. I've said it before. But anyways, let's stop giving those guys Mark, talk all the shit you want, buddy. Brian, I will be your entertainment. Mark says, "I don't like Whistling Diesel, but damn it, I can't help but watch what dumb shit he does." And exactly. That's, and that's his game. And that's how he's way wealthier than I am and more popular than I am. You know what I mean? Mark, you're right. People just need to be negative. That's a lot of it. It's because they don't have anything going on in their own lives. It's sad. I challenge any troll to start a YouTube channel, a podcast, or even a Facebook page, and let me know how that goes for you. Okay. I guarantee you'll realize after a while it's probably not worth your time because you're a troll. But anyways, let's get back to something positive here. I have let me ask you this in the chat. What's your guys' favorite Mopar from the movies? Since I don't have one picked out for high performance parts, I'm curious what Mopar you guys like the best. One of my favorites, if not my favorite, I've probably said this multiple times, is Big Willie Robinson's 69 Charger Daytona that was featured for a few seconds at the beginning of Two Lane Blacktop. Just because I know that that's an iconic car, and I love wing cars. And I think it's the only, aside from the Fast and the Furious with that clone, and what was it? It's on the tip of my tongue. There was another movie, Dazed and Confused, that had a black Superbird in it for like a split second. Anyway, the 69 Dodge Charger Daytona from the International Brotherhood of Street Racers, Big Willie Robinson. That's my favorite movie Mopar of all time. Mark says the Nash Bridges CUDA. I still have not done a feature on that car yet for high performance parts. So maybe I'll do that one on the next show. Maybe I'll do some research on that car because I'm curious whatever happened to it. Where did it end up? Awesome CUDA. I believe it was a 71. yeah, I'd like to do some more research on that car because I really didn't watch the show. I think I was pretty young when that show came out, but I do remember the CUDA. And I was also a fan of Cheech, so I caught a couple episodes of the show, but I didn't really get into it too much. But I do know about the car. All right, if anybody else has any more, go ahead and throw them in the chat. I'll check back on that later. Okay. This listener story was sent in to me from my buddy Scott Cease. You can find his Instagram at dodgebro_408. He's got a sweet 69 Dodge Dart named Layla, and he sent me the story, so we're going to read it. Let me just get it pulled up here. Scott's a good guy, and he's really he's one of those guys that, you know, really loves to drag race. I mean, don't we all? But I can see the passion that Scott has for his car, you know, just when he talks about it and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and read Scott's story. So this is Scott's story about Layla, his 69 Dodge Dart. This is a long one, folks. Okay, so bear with me. I'm going to pull my sleeves up for this one. Take a drink of water, and we're going to kick this thing off. All right. Hi, Chris. I want to start off saying thank you for doing the podcast each week and showing the build on the Mr. Norm tribute truck and soon to be podcast van. Can't wait to hear and see what more you have in store. I have a little story/history of a build that you may recognize from my Instagram page, dodgebro_408. I have to admit, I wasn't for sure about sharing this due to I honestly don't think people would be interested in hearing this. That's not true, Scott. So after much thought and support from family and my girlfriend, Ashley, good people in your life, I figured why not? I do have a prequel to the story too, but that will be at a later time. Here is my story. My name is Scott Cease from Hesperia, California, proud owner of my 1969 Dodge Dart GT. Since 2009, I've been building and racing the Mopar ever since. Currently, the car runs low to mid 12 seconds on 91 pump gas, powered by a well-massaged 360 Magnum small block V8 motor with 10:1 compression ratio, Mopar aluminum heads, M1 Mopar single plane intake, hydraulic roller camshaft, 750 Holley carburetor, Headman headers. Attached to a 904 transmission with beefed up internals, reverse manual valve body, 3500 Hughes stall converter. The transmission was built by Bob Mazzolini Racing. It sits on competition engineering 90-10 front shocks with stock suspension with non-power disc brakes from a 1975 Duster and super stock springs in the stock location on an 8 3/4 rear end with Rancho Performance 9000 9-way adjustable shocks on the back. The wheels in the front are American Racing Torque Thrust and Chrysler Steelies at the rear, wrapped in MT drag radials. The 1969 Dodge Dart also has the nicknames like the Last Project, due to it was the last project I did with my dad before he passed away. Sorry about your loss, Scott. Project Redemption, due to me and my Mopar are always coming back with vengeance when things go wrong. I have many stories of comebacks, especially at the track. And Layla after the Eric Clapton song. I didn't pick the name, my family did, and it stuck. Some unknown facts. Built between my friend Kial's house, I hope I said that right, Kial's house, my dad's, and my apartment, and my enclosed storage in the early days. Spent time at Chino Hills Transmissions for bigger builds. I worked for them at the time after my machine shop job to pay for the work done and learned a lot during the time. Later on, managed to build the rest of the Dart in my own garage. Mostly owner built except for interior. Some of the engine and transmission. Did the motor, serviced and freshened up the top end with help from my stepdad and his best friend. Suspension, wiring, rear end, bodywork, and paint. The red bandana on the tack is my dad's. He wore it during his construction days. I keep a photo of my girlfriend on my speedometer when drag racing. I feel it brings me luck when going down the track. I still have the Craigslist ad when I was searching for drag car/truck. Some history. The 1969 Dodge Dart GT started life in China Lake, California as a 273 small block 2-barrel power steering and AC car with a vinyl top. It was used at the China Lake Naval Air Weapons Division back in the day. I'm the 6th owner, not sure who was the first one, but believe it was either an officer or a private contractor. I'm currently looking more into it, but I believe it did exchange hands at China Lake multiple times. The original color was an off yellow, and I bought the car in primer flat black with a bright orange roll cage. The owner before me bought the 1969 Dodge Dart GT to race it, but lost interest when his second child was born. It was around 2008 I decided to go back into drag racing with my mini truck. Very first, it was a 1985 Ram 50. The Dart is the third vehicle, but it's my very first car. It was okay, but very slow, and I didn't have the resources to do the necessary build to make it a competitive race truck. I was racing my Ram 1500 daily driver for a while, but like everyone said, it's my daily. I sold my mini truck in November of 2008 to have the funds to buy another car/truck that would be a better starting point. I was watching the 1969 Dodge Dart GT on Craigslist for a while, along with a Duster and a Barracuda, but the Dart kept coming back to it. I eventually went to where are we at? Real 2 to check it out with my friend Kjell. At the time, it had the 360 with a competition transmission, 8 3/4 rear end, and a roll cage. It was enough to give me a good starting point. I bought the Dodge Dart GT on New Year's Day of 2009 with my friend Eddie. He is a fellow drag racer who came with me to get it and also to examine it. After passing his tests, we loaded it up and took back to Chino, where I lived at the time. Same year, Kjell and I managed to take it to Irwindale Dragway for its debut. Though it had stock tires, no gauges, and many other things going against me, I wanted to see what it could do as is. It didn't do too terrible, but Kjell and I had a blast along with Eddie and the rest of our group. Building the car was very slow, as I was living in an apartment at the time and didn't have a place to do the work until I befriended everyone at Chino Hills Transmissions, which I got a lot of the build done at. Memorial Day weekend 2009, my dad fell really ill, so the 1969 Dodge Dart GT was put on the side for a while. My dad unfortunately and unexpectedly passed away in March of 2011 before the car was drag race ready. He was my crew chief and the mastermind on the build. In the summer, my friends, racers and video gamers, and my mom got together with me and asked what is it going to take to get the 69 Dart track ready. We were gearing up to make the Moon Eyes Xmas show, my dad's favorite, and race in December at Irwindale Dragway, the 8th of the mile. My 1969 Dodge Dart GT already had wider street tires, and there was some safety equipment needed. My friend Eddie and I also decided to paint the car, but it took a while to get it done as we both worked full time. The color is a 68 Dodge Charger Sable White. Originally, I was going to paint it either a dark gray or blue, but after Eddie's friend Art was looking at it, he said to stay with a lighter color so I don't cook during drag racing. Smart. Finishing up the paint in August, I managed to take it to another car show called Thunderfest in Covina with Eddie and the rest of our group. Most fun I ever had since my dad's passing. The Moon Eyes came. My 1969 Dart ran as best as we could get it with what we had at the time, and my friends, my mom, and I, we all had a blast. I did another race in 2012 at the Moon Eyes Xmas show at the Irwindale Dragway, and my Dodge Dart was put down again for some more work. In April of 2013, my mom remarried to my now stepdad, Alex, putting the Dart on the back burner for a while. In the summer of 2014, I had to redo all the wiring due to having a smoke/light show under the dash. Those are no fun. Come to find out later, it came from multiple places under the dash, including the bulkhead. I did the wiring with Painless Wiring, Pro Street Wiring Kit, MSD Ignition, and the switch panel at the time was ARC control panel before having the money this year, 2021, of changing it to the Painless Wiring 8 toggle switch panel setup along with a 110 amp one-wire alternator that is current. The original dashboard damaged and was replaced with aluminum setup with help from my friend Kevin. Around the same time, I rebuilt the front suspension. The disc brakes are from a 1975 to 1976 Dodge Dart Duster that I bought and rebuilt and still running to this day, and with the American Racing Torque Thrust wheels to complete it. I look at it this way. If it stops my friend's 1968 Dodge Charger that does low 10s, high 9s in the quarter, it should stop the Dart with no issues. In August of 2015, I took it to Fontana Dragway, did about a dozen runs on the quarter mile, but had some issues, including a bad steering box. The repairs were done, and again, Layla was put on the back burner due to health issues I had. Winter of 2016, after recovering from the health issue, I decided to rebuild/upgrade the rear end and finally put slicks on the back. The axles are from Dr. Diff, and the rear 1975 through 76 Duster rear drum brakes were from Mopar Madness in Eaton, Colorado. Around that time, my stepdad Alex hooked me up with a new tuner, his best friend Mark, who got my 69 Dart to run mid to low 12s for the first time. My end game for the Dart, I want to build it in my end game for the Dart. I want to build it into a competitive bracket car and doing so on a shoestring budget. I've done some no prep racing, which at a few events, one of them in Banning, California, and the other at Willow Springs Raceway. Though I didn't build her to do such things, but she will go down A to B every time. I also met a lot of people along the way at these events too, as well, and got not just tips, but also help with setting in. And in turn, I helped them with what I could. I'm not the fastest racer, the flashiest out on the track or car show, but I always have a great time. People still come up to me and want to know more about her to this day. There are a few things I have left on my list to do and some things I need to redo on Layla, including upgrading the rear suspension, valve train, and fiberglass hood. Friends and family that helped me along the way. Kiel Gage, okay. Scott lists all these names. I'm going to try my best, but clearly every time I read these stories, I don't read these ahead of time. Okay. So forgive me, but these are the friends and family that helped Scott along the way in building Layla. Kiel Gage, Fred Durfee, Eddie Martinez and his group, Alan Galvan, Josh Galvan, Chris Khatib, Andy Lawrence, Rudy, Jeff Bailiff, Shelby Brown Haynes, Bullshit Alley, Kevin Rohrer, Cameron Rohrer, Jim Rohrer, and Mike Sage. Chino Hills Transmissions, Monica Chicas, Michael Halstead, Mark Powell. Special thanks. My dad, gone but not forgotten. My mom, my stepdad Alex, Mark Miller, my grandma Connie, gone but not forgotten. My sister Laura and brother-in-law Martin, my little brother Mike, Saldana family, and very special thanks to my girlfriend Ashley for helping me through thick and thin. Scott Cease. At dodgebro_408 on Instagram. Whew, Scott, you you owe me for this one, buddy. I love reading these stories, man. Sorry to hear about your dad. It's one of those sentimental stories, man, where it's like, you know, I don't even want to think about when I lose my dad because, you know, thankfully I interviewed him on an episode of this show. So I will always have that special episode with my dad. So whenever I want, I can hear his voice. I don't have a car of his that, you know, I don't have his van. I don't have his Dart. So that's a little bit, you know, that's tough for me to swallow, but I do have, you know, whatever he has when he leaves will be mine. So I'll have those. But if it wasn't for the Dart, the van, and even his 85 Dodge Daytona Turbo Z, I don't know. Actually, I know I wouldn't be the Mopar guy that I am today without those vehicles. I wish I could have all three of them. I would give everything I have now, including the Mr. Norm's truck, just to have those three vehicles back. That would be awesome. But I totally understand, you know, the Dart definitely has a sentimental place in your heart, and that's totally understandable, you know, especially if your dad, you know, the mastermind behind the build, you know what I mean? But a 12-second car on pump gas. Hey, man, that's nothing to be ashamed of. Not that you said you were. That's awesome. It sounds like a good build. You know, you have plans to upgrade it some more and get it to run a little bit faster. But the point of everything is that you're having fun, and that's all that counts. And you've created all sorts of fun memories with your family and friends. And, you know, at the end of the day, isn't that what really matters? You know, because eventually, you know, some cars get away. And if the Dart ever gets away from you, I hope it doesn't. But if it does, at least you have all those memories. You know, that's the one thing that I have of the Mopars that I grew up around is the memories. But thank you, Scott, for sharing your story. That was a long one, man. It's always fun getting through those because this show, when it's live, guess what? That means it's live. It's unedited. I probably would have had to read. It probably would have taken on a normal pre-recorded episode to read this story. It would have taken me, I mean, being generous, I would say probably 6 takes and probably an hour of editing, just the story alone. So, Scott, the next time, come on the show. Tell me the story. I would love that. Don't make me read it again. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but I'm sure you could tell it a lot better than I could. But great story. Thank you, Scott, for sharing. Let's jump back over into the chat, see what we got going on here. Mark says, back to Mopars in movies and TVs and stuff. Mark says Virgin River 78 D100. I don't know about that one. I'll have to look into that. Gary says Mannix TV series Dodge Dart convertible. I'll have to look into that one too. Tad's in the chat. What's up, buddy? Kevin Curley, low 12s. Mark Sweet says, love the story. My first car was a 69 Dart Western Sport. Got it in 07, but eventually due to life had to sell. Mad respect for keeping the dream and project alive despite all the hardships. Feels good to hear stories like this, knowing the industry is still thriving. Absolutely, man. I agree 100%. One thing that we were talking about on the Dust Devil Garage live stream was the fact that there aren't a lot of young people into Mopars. And, you know, one of the guys on there, Ruben, was talking about his son, and his son is a teenager and doesn't care. And he was trying to give him a 72 Challenger, a really nice car, and his son didn't want it. You know, and I'm just shocked. But Ruben's a cool guy. He's got a really cool Roadrunner. He also has a YouTube channel. It's Muscle City Madness. So be sure to go check that out. Cool cars. He's got a really cool ratty Roadrunner. I got to get caught up on all these. I have all these new friends and I got to catch up on all their videos. I don't know how some people keep tabs on all these YouTube videos. I am so far behind on even my closest friends' content that I'm like, gosh, I don't even know when I have time. I've got a couple flights coming up, so I'll probably try to get internet on the flight and try to get some of those channels caught up on. But it's concerning to a lot of us that, you know, the younger crowd is more into the modern stuff and really has no idea of the history or anything like that. With you know, if you ask a lot of, you know, and I don't want to put a number on it, but there's a large percentage of people, younger people, we'll say younger than 30, that own Scat Packs and have no idea about the original Scat Packs. So, or the original Scat Pack or the rapid transit system. They don't know the history of Mopars, and that's really concerning to me. I know I've talked about this. I think a lot of them are, you know, if it wasn't for Mopars now, and we'll take the same group of people and take them back to when I was in high school in 2001, they'd probably be import people, which is fine. You know, any enthusiasm for cars is cool with me. But I see a lot of the same things that I saw in the import scene in the early 2000s and late 90s. I see that kind of stuff being implemented into these modern Mopars. And because I've seen it done, it's stale to me. You know, all the flashy lights and stuff. I understand it does have its place, but I guess I'm just so much more of an when it comes to, you know, domestics, I'm way more of an old school guy. And it's really a shame that a lot of these guys couldn't give two shits about the old stuff. You know, that really bums me out. But I'm really hoping that, you know, as this show progresses, we get more of these modern Mopar fans on the show to talk about their passion for the cars and see, you know, kind of gauge, you know, how much they know about the old stuff. And hopefully, you know, I like the idea of the Talking Mopars podcast being the bridge to bridge that gap. You know what I mean? If I can get, you know, Johnny Hellcat, you know, who knows nothing about the classics, into a classic after he pays off that ridiculous Hellcat, then, you know, maybe we'll win in the end, and the old school Mopars will stay alive. But one thing we talked about in that live stream was there may be a point where all the prices plummet because nobody cares except for the hardcores. And I know I speak for more than just myself when I say I can't wait for the prices to come down. Let me tell you what. So I guess there's positives and negatives. For those of you with kids out there, you know, it's been discussed, like, how much can you get your kid into the same things you're into? And I mentioned that what I see a lot is, yeah, of course there's going to be young men that are inspired by their fathers, you know, getting out there in the garage, you know, handing their dad tools and stuff. Like Blake did with his dad, Jabo. They were also on the podcast. Shout out to Bad Tree Productions. Go check out their videos too on YouTube, Bad Tree Productions. So there are those family dynamics where, I know that I helped my dad and watched my dad. I learned all my favorite cuss words from listening to my dad work on cars. I don't know if I've told this story. This is pretty funny. My dad's underneath one of the cars one day, and I come outside and I hear this commotion and I hear bam, 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 bam underneath the car. My dad, this is probably embarrassing. I hope he doesn't hear this. He's banging on something underneath this car and he's going, I'll teach you to with me. Bam, bam, bam. He's beating up this tool. And I'm like, oh my God. You never want to laugh at somebody when they're really pissed off. I have this horrible habit of, especially if it's people I really know, when they're really pissed, sometimes it just makes me laugh because they say the funniest shit. But anyways, back to what I was saying. There are a lot of young men that are influenced by their fathers, but what I've been noticing a lot is these young women who are influenced by their fathers, and that's why they're so into Mopars. That is awesome to me. I know a lot of young women in the Mopar community that are awesome. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say it's like, oh, it's like they're one of the guys, because they're Mopar enthusiasts. That's it. And I don't want this to sound bad because I don't want to disparage anybody, but these young women don't have to show off their bodies to get attention because they know stuff about Mopars, and that's why people respect them. You know what I mean? That to me is respectable. Of course, everybody likes to look at a beautiful woman. Let's be realistic here. But when I see a young woman or even an older gal, I don't age discriminate, that's really into Mopars for the love of Mopars, not for the love of the attention. I respect that a lot. So shout out to all you younger and older ladies out there that are legitimate Mopar enthusiasts and are classy. I respect you. But anyways, yeah, I think there is a way to influence your kids without pushing them away. I haven't tested my theory out yet because my daughter's only 2, but I'll tell you what, if that little girl isn't into Mopars, I won't say I'll be a disappointed dad, but I'm going to try everything I can. You know what I mean? To the point where her first car probably won't be running and driving. We're probably going to get her a project, and because I want her to understand the value of getting your hands dirty and wanting something so much that you're willing to put some time and effort into it to have it. And maybe then she'll respect it more. So when her and her idiot friends are out and about and they tell her to do something stupid, she's going to go, I'm sorry, did you build this car? No, I built it over weekends, when I could be out playing grab ass. Instead, I'm in the garage with my dad building this Mopar, and I cherish this car, so I'm not going to do anything stupid with it. That's what I hope, but we all know how that goes, right? Hope in one hand and you do something else in the other. I'm not quite sure, but we'll see how that turns out. Yeah, I really hope that, and I have gotten a lot of listener stories and emails from the younger generation saying, love the podcast, love learning about these cars. Multiple times I've heard people from the younger generation say, I learn a lot listening to the show. That was a lot of the earlier episodes before I got so much into these lives, when I was covering a lot of the history of Mopars, which that is not over. We're going to keep doing that too. But I really love getting those emails and those messages because it cements in my mind that, okay, there are some hardcores that are growing up and they're going to be where a lot of us are now. I'm starting to approach 40. I'm 36. So I still feel young at heart, but I know that, in the eyes of a 20 something, I'm an old guy. So I hope that maybe the modern Mopar stuff will get stale after a while. Maybe they'll go, oh, okay, I've got a Hellcat or I've got a Scat Pack. What else can I get my hands on? And they're going to look at that old Mopar. Maybe they've fallen in love with Gen 3 Hemis and the performance, but maybe they love the styling of an old Mopar. That's why I'm such a advocate for Hemi swaps, and why, I promote my friends over at DIY Hemi swap the world. I know that it's controversial because a lot of people are like, oh, quit putting new stuff in old stuff. I know they hate it. But if that's what it's going to take to keep Mopars on the street instead of rotting into the ground, then I'm all for it. If to get a young kid interested in a 70 Roadrunner, you got to throw a Gen 3 Hemi in there with twin turbos or what have you, I'm all for it. If that's what it's going to take to prevent these cars. I can't go touting no Mopar left behind if I can't accept that. Anything to keep the cars from rotting into the ground or getting scrapped, is in my mind is good. So let's get back into the chat. I'm going off the rails. Kevin Curley says, had a daily driver 340 Duster that ran 11s at 109 miles an hour. That's a hell of a daily driver, dude. Mike says, have you seen the show Graveyard Cars? As a matter of fact, I think I've watched a couple times. I've done, this is my 101. This is episode 101. And I imagine that I've said my piece about Graveyard Cars a couple times on the show, but I'll say it one more time. I'll probably say it more than one more time, but this is one of those times I'll talk about Graveyard Cars. I love the show for a couple reasons. One, it's Mopar centric. That's amazing. I love it. Two, I enjoy Mark. I know a lot of people hate on the guy because he's a goofball and stuff. I'm a silly goose too. I've said that before. I love getting silly. I love, being a silly goose. I think it's fun. And let's be honest, if the guy went on there and was decoding fender tags every episode, it would get really old to the people that are really making him money. You know what I mean? But I don't have a problem with this show. Some of the antics and stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, I probably would have rather have seen some more footage of a restoration or some more tech tips than that segment. But I'm also not a TV producer. I don't have a show. I'm sure if I had a TV show, people would roast me and then be like, how many times are you going to go find a car in a yard and go knock on the door? You know what I mean? Because that's what I would do. A lot of those events on shows, and I'm not saying that Graveyard Cars has any of this, I'm just making a comment. A lot of that stuff is set up. I would love to, I mean, people have said, oh, you should be shot for what you do. If that was my yard, I'd shoot you. Let's put it on TV. Let's see what happens. I think that would be a blast. So TV producers, if you want to see a guy take some risks and knock on some doors and see what kind of drama we can stir up, I'm your man. Because a lot of people say that I should be shot. And you know what? I've said that I don't think that'll ever happen. So let's prove them either right or wrong. Yeah, Graveyard Cars, I think it's good for TV. I think it's good for the automotive community. I think it's good for Mopars. Is Mark silly? Yes. And I understand that he's not everybody's flavor. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people like that. They're serious people. That's fine. I understand. I try to keep it pretty tame on this show. But you get a bunch of my buddies in here and we do the Hollywood squares of Mopars, and who knows what's going to happen. You know what I mean? But that's the fun of it. I love that kind of stuff. I see we've gone into an hour. I've had a great time tonight. I do want to tell you guys that this weekend I will be at Muscle Cars at the Strip at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, obviously in Las Vegas, Nevada, the 10th and the 11th. I fly out there Friday night. So I'm going to be landing at we'll just call it 9:30. And I got to get over to the track because they're going to be doing some night racing. So I'm going to meet my friend, Johnny Mopar, who you all should be very familiar with by now. If you're not, go check out his YouTube channel. I'll be meeting him out there. We're going to be filming all sorts of content. And rumor has it there may be a special drag race between two very popular barn find cars. I don't know how much is known about this, and I don't know if it's even going to happen, but my friend Mike Coffey has a 1970 Dodge Coronet RT in sublime over white, 4-speed car, 410 Dana car, 446 pack. And he wants to race, or I don't know if it was him that originated this challenge. I don't know how it came to be, but there may be a race between my friend Mike and the 70 Sublime Coronet RT 446 pack car versus the EV2, I believe it's EV2, 70 Challenger RT 426 Hemi car, both found from the same barn find, at the track. And I've got $100 against anybody. Put your $100 up against mine. I think the 6-pack takes the Hemi. I do. I honestly do. There's a few reasons why I say that, but if anybody is a gambling man, we're going to be in Vegas. So if anybody wants to see my $100 cash, I'm willing to throw down. You take the Hemi Challenger. I'll take the 440 6-pack Coronet RT. All right. We can even do a double or nothing. That'd be kind of fun. But that's something I'm looking forward to. Mopars 5150 is also giving away some project cars to combat veterans. I think that's going to be great. And then, of course, the car shows, the swap meet, the vendor midway, drag racing, autocross. There's a little something for everybody out there. So, and not to mention after the show, Las Vegas nightlife. Hey, let's go out and get some drinks. Let's have some fun. You know what I mean? I'm really looking forward to that. So if you are anywhere near Vegas, head on over to Vegas. I know there's going to be a lot of personalities that you guys know from the internet that are in the Mopar community that are going to be there. It's going to be a blast. And there's a lot of people that I'm going to be meeting for the first time that I haven't met in person. That's going to be a lot of fun. I always love to meet people. And then the cars, of course, I want to see the Mopars. I want to see the Mopars dominate. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I don't know. I've never been to Las Vegas for a car event, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Back when it was Mopars at the Strip, I really wanted to go. And since then, they've opened it up to all brands of muscle cars, which I think is cool. And I'm just really looking forward to it. I can't stress that enough. So shout out to Muscle Cars at the Strip. If you want more information, go to matslv.com. That's MATSLV.com for the entire show schedule or event schedule. It's all up there on their website. Like I said, I'll be showing up. You'll see me Friday night. I'll be at the track Friday night. So yeah, that's episode 101, folks. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Monday night. Real quick, we'll go through the last couple comments in the chat and we'll just close this baby out. All right. And then the next time you see me, I'll be in Las Vegas or on my way to Las Vegas. I might get to the airport a little early and go live just to, BS with you guys. So we'll see. And if you can't make it out to Vegas, don't worry. We're going to cover it. There's going to be a lot of coverage, not just from me, but I'd imagine from everybody that's going to the show. But I'm definitely going to be going live. I'm going to be taking a lot of pictures, all sorts of fun stuff. So be sure to keep your eyes on the Talking Mopars podcast Facebook page and Instagram, and of course the podcast. And Viva Las Vegas, baby, we're coming. The Mopar enthusiasts and muscle car enthusiasts are going to descend upon Sin City and have a hell of a good time. So that's that. Last couple comments. Mark Sweet says Rust Valley Resto is better, but that's just my opinion. Hey, I love that show too. The guy with dreadlocks, dude. Come on. I remember when that business was for sale for $1 million or $2 million. And I just remember looking in the pictures and like, damn, he's got a lot of Mopars. You know what I mean? Apparently they decided to do a TV show instead of selling. So I don't know the whole story behind that, but it is what it is. I do like that show. To be honest with you, I mean, I can be entertained by any car show. It's just a matter of how long I'm entertained. You know what I mean? I would love, please, TV producers, please get a hold of me. I have some ideas that involve me and a bunch of my friends. You want some TV, get a hold of Chris. Okay. Get a hold of the Mopar Hunter and we'll make something really cool happen. And I promise you it would be amazing TV. That's all I can say about that. But Mike Flores says, take a pocket full of money. Working on it. Pat says Sin City, thumbs up. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, my friends. There you have it, folks. Another episode of Talking Mopars is in the books. Talking Mopars Live is in the books. For everything you need to know about the podcast, please visit talkingmopars.com. And if you feel so inclined to help support the show, you can become a supporter on the Facebook page, or you can go to talkingmopars.com, hit the merch shop, and buy a t-shirt or something. give me some gambling money for Vegas. I actually have a podcast van that I'm saving up for because that thing's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a rolling, ratty podcast mobile, first of its kind, hopefully. And we'll see. I don't know anybody that's built a podcast boogie van yet. And if anything, if I know that I was the first one to talk about seriously doing it. So if anybody comes out with a podcast boogie van before I do, I will probably cry. But go ahead and go to talkingmopars.com. You're going to find all the old episodes there. So if you're new to the show, feel free to go and catch up. Start at episode 1, work your way to here. And, as you all know, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, hate mail, or anything else on your Mopar addicted mind, you can reach me by email, chris@talkingmopars.com, or you can leave a voicemail on... You can leave a voice message on my voicemail box at 209-28 Mopar, and I will play your message on the show. That's it, folks. Until we talk again, I am your host, Chris Albrecht, and that was Talking Mopars Live. See you in Vegas.
Thank you for listening to Talking Mopars, your direct connection to all things Mopar. Until next time, remember, no Mopar left behind.